Welcome to your best bets. We did the Masters over the weekends. I'm also back from vacation. What did Cam Newton say that one time? I'm back. That's me tonight. After a week off, first show I've not been a part of out of I don't know 160 podcasts. So it was great to be a listener last week, but I'm back in Fort Wayne. We got a lot of shows ahead of us. An important one tonight to review Jon Rahm's dominant victory at the Masters, his second career major. Preview Harbortown this week, and just a lot of thoughts on a lot of guys from this weekend. A lot to get through tonight, so let's get to it. Johnny Strouser is here. Johnny, I thought instead of doing this whole Masters thing and this whole PGA Tour thing, we could talk about Indiana landing a crucial transfer tonight. We could do that instead.
We could, yes, we could.
If you want to go that route.
I don't know who it was, but I'm sure it was a very good transfer that they got
It
and very
was.
crucial.
It was. It
And
was. Yeah, Khalil Ware from Oregon. He was in the top 10 of the 2022 class, 5 star. He'll only be a sophomore, so 7 footer. Should be a good get. We'll see.
why didn't I hear about that? I know they were talking about a couple guys that they were in the running for. One of them went to Michigan. I think he was I can't remember what school he went to, but anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty solid to get a big like that, and
Now
we'll
let's
see.
be. No, he did only average 6 and 4 last year, but maybe
I
Mike Woodson's going to
I was
unlock his potential.
Mike Woodson is just going to work with him and bring out the best, and we'll
Yes.
see at least he didn't go to Purdue.
Yeah,
Like
that's right.
another 7 foot big man, but he probably
That's
wasn't
right.
tall. He probably wasn't tall enough to be honest with you. So
Yeah, and he wasn't, like mutant looking enough like a Zach Edey or
oh my goodness.
whatever. But your team, Michigan State, they got a pretty big, a retention piece to their team from last year. Tyson Walker, right? He's staying.
Walker just announced he's going to come back, which is just humongous. And then they've got um, I don't know what ranking they are in the recruiting class, but they have got some studs coming in. And if these guys are in that one and done mold, or at least that quality, you know, they could be a top tier Big Ten team, as they normally are, but one that actually contends for the title. So pretty excited to hear about that, and to hear Walker's going to be back. And I know we just ended college basketball just a couple weeks ago, but it's one of those things that it's such a fun sport to talk about and think about, and just really latch on to certain teams and follow them during the off season.
Michigan State's going to be a handful next year. I know it. And yeah, the transfer portal has really added this element to kind of like kind of like the NFL offseason now a little bit right after the season ends. It's kind of fun to see where these top transfers are going to go. Waiting to hear where Hunter Dickinson's going to go. Guys like that can really make a huge impact if your recruiting class isn't there, which I use isn't this in this coming fall. It's a huge way to make immediate impact on your team. UConn did it last year, so see how that goes. Let's get to the Masters. Unbelievable weekends. It was kind of choppy with some of the weather issues. Obviously, I felt like Sunday was just an absolute marathon day. After we got done, finished with the third round in the morning. You kind of got to break and you got some lunch or something, did whatever. You got prepped for the final round. But um, this is, I guess, the word that I think about when I think about what the result was inevitability with Jon Rahm. We've been talking about it for a while. We talked about it in the fall preview show that Jon Rahm was going to be unbelievable. You highlighted specifically, so credit to you. I just we've talked about him having an unbelievably high floor, probably the highest floor on tour, where I just can close my eyes and Jon Rahm's going to shoot 70 probably most rounds without even playing that well. He has no weaknesses, and I feel like he's starting to unlock performances in the majors, and I just feel like the sky is the limit, and we got a lot to talk about with Rom. But what was your initial impression of his? I guess you could consider it come from behind final round, but it just never felt in question from about I don't know hole number 6.
Yeah, I mean, he was down for a good chunk of the day, but like you said, it never really felt like it. It was like it's just going to happen at some point, and you could just see how he went about it every single day. I mean, for those who didn't watch like the entire thing or didn't hear about it, guy four putts the first green, makes double bogey, and immediately you're thinking, that for anybody, whether they're a professional golfer or some guy playing on the weekend there, that's going to derail them for the entire round there. But he just he probably was upset, walked to the second hole, didn't hit a great tee shot, and just moved on and got it back really really quickly. And I think, what did he shoot, 65 that first day with a double bogey on the first hole. But just the way he plays the game now, you could tell how confident he is, how comfortable he is. He doesn't ever get to the point where you see like desperate golf shots. I mean, we see it a lot in the Masters. Guys got started to get pretty aggressive that Sunday. Even just regular PGA Tour events, you see the questionable shots, and the fact that they feel like they got to make up ground immediately rather than kind of plot and play their way around a golf course. And Jon Rahm has total confidence in his entire game, driving the ball, his fairway woods, his irons, his wedges are great, and he's making a ton of putts. So he just looked like he was just going to keep playing. He was going to just keep shooting low scores and put the pressure on Brooks Koepka to eventually falter. Which Koepka hit a lot of good shots and just made a couple key errors with some bogeys and whatnot down the stretch and fell back. And it's just I think we're seeing I'm not talking a Tiger Woods generational talent, but I think we're seeing a generational talent, the best player right now, kind of coming into his game. Because I think if you looked at, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, before he had won all those events, he would oftentimes get visibly frustrated and upset with his game, and he would let that linger from shot to shot to shot. It didn't happen one time. He'd hit a bad one and he'd throw a
Yeah,
fit, he'd in his own little way. But
yeah.
this is the only guy since Tiger Woods that I've ever seen. Tiger could get really, really angry at himself for poor execution on a golf shot and then have total focus where he wouldn't even think about the previous one. And I think something, just that, when you're that confident about your game, when you're that in control of your emotions, like we'd always talked about with him, is if he could get that done, the sky would be the limit. And I think we're at that point where we're seeing the best player of this generation, playing some of his best golf.
And to me, that's obviously a sign of maturity, but I think he's more confident in his game now, where he understands I can make a mistake and I'm going to get it back. Like you mentioned, double bogey in the first hole out of the gate, four putting. Obviously, no panic because I think he still turned in 33, uh, which is
Yeah.
incredible. So obviously, he he has when he has all cylinders going. I know we've talked about who's best is the best, and I don't know if if Rory's best is the best or Scheffler's best is the best, but I'm most confident that Rahm is going to be at his best more often. Now Scheffler's probably pretty close there. I think Rory's a little bit more up and down, but his he's used the driver as such a weapon over the last 5 years. But I feel like his irons are the key to the difference. I mean, winning four times already this year. I saw where he was gaining a half a stroke more on approach per round this season. Obviously, the margins are razor thin, and that doesn't sound like a lot to maybe people that don't follow those strokes gained metrics like you and I, but that's a lot. I mean, that is considerable. And we know he gains around the greens, and he has had some moments with the putter, especially last year. But I'm pretty confident when he's over a 12-footer, that he's got a good beat on, it's going to go in. I'm just incredibly impressed by the consistency and the relentlessness of his game. That's the other word I kept thinking of. I'm like, dude, this guy is relentless. I mean, if you're down one or two, it feels like more. When Koepka, I think he trailed by one. I think going into the eighth hole, it just felt like more. And I just didn't ever. I had no worries that Rahm was not going to get it done. Um, Last year we did a show with Zach Fitzgerald where we went through I don't know 15 or 20 guys and we did their over under on majors. One of my favorites and one we'll certainly have to recalibrate at some point this year. But Jon Rahm right now, today I was thinking of this number over under career majors at 5.5. Where are you leaning with that number?
Damn it, that's exactly the number that I would have set it for. And just to put things in perspective, I know Tiger's got the 15 majors, and you got Nicholas with 18 and all that.
Sure.
Um, this day and age, with this the depth of the golfers and the quality of players that we've got, five is, I think, an astronomical number. If you could win five majors, I think that's up there with a
Did you
top
say did
10 career.
you say five?
Five, we'll,
Five.
we'll we'll get into that stupid shit here pretty soon. Here, I got plenty to say about that. But anyways,
Five.
five five majors, I think is unbelievable, and that's why you look at a guy like
It
what
is.
Brooks
Yep.
had done. Winning. He's got four, right?
Yes. Yes.
Kepka's got four, and I mean
Yep.
to get to five would be just an unbelievable career. And so five and a
Right.
half. I mean, how can you not hammer the over on that? And six would be an unbelievable career. Like I said, you can't really compare it to what Tiger did. But looking at these good players and everything, and how hard it is to win a golf tournament, let alone a major, you know, six feels like a good number. I don't think, I don't see eight or nine or anything like that, but six would be just an incredible career, and I think it's going to be something like that. And I would imagine that's probably what you'd be looking at, is you'd probably take the over 5.5.
I would. I would say 6 to 7. I know it sounds crazy. Can't just give them out. We always give them out. Um, a year and a half ago we gave Morikawa's, I think 8 is what Zach gave him. And we've seen guys go through this phase. We've seen it with Rory, where he knocked off 4 in a row and he seemed like he could never lose. And then he did. And now it's been almost 9 years. I mean, I can't, that's staggering to say. It's staggering to say. I mean, it's been 9 years. It's almost the same gap from Tiger's '08 major US Open to his 19 Masters. I mean, we're getting close to that same margin for Rory. We saw it with Brooks, where knocked off 4 in like what 8 or 9 majors, and then he had a good run where he's come close. He came close a couple times in 19. He was around in a couple, but it started to trail off and he had his injury. Um, Spieth, similar. It's just you
Yeah.
see it with these guys where you think I just don't see how they could lose, but scar tissue builds on these losses, and something changes a little bit. I love the Rory line with him talking about it feels like he's trying to win his first major again because it's incredibly spot on. So yeah, I would go over 5.5. And I think what the other fascinating question that someone posed on Twitter today was of all the active guys now, the Brooks, Rory, Morikawa, Rahm, Scheffler, who's going to have the most? Who's going to have the most at the end of it? And I don't know the answer, but it's going to be fascinating. I guess JT, it's going to be fascinating to watch this group of guys for the next 10, 15 years to see how they sort all that out.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of these guys pick up another one, maybe two major championships over the next decade, while ushering the new generation of golfers, which aren't going to be any worse than the current golfers that are dominating the headlines, dominating the tournaments, and playing unbelievably good golf. So it's just there's only four of them a year, and when you've got in the Tiger era, you'd have four or five guys, really who could win a major. There was some outliers and everything that of people who won, but nowadays it gets up to there close to probably 20 to 25 at minimum, and then you've got more of a chance that even the guy that's ranked, let's say 75th in the field, he could go on an absolute heater and contend, in a given week there. So it'll be interesting to see what the most majors of any of these guys can attain. But I think we've, in the past we've kind of looked at that Tiger era of quantity of wins and of major championships and just looked at it and been like, this is kind of the ceiling here, and when in fact it's not the ceiling, it's way above it. So it's in a good the golf's in a good spot right now with all these quality players, and it's just fun to watch, and it's so hard to pick, as we look at it from a betting aspect of you got to be really on as a handicapper or as a golf sports better to figure out who is kind of trending but isn't trending that much that you can find the lines on and everything like that. So it's fun to watch, and I can't wait for the next 10 years and seeing how these guys evolve and accumulate the major championships.
You and Zach last week, yeah, obviously handled the show. Great job, by the way. Um, you guys talked about that separation of Scotty, Rory, and Rahm. And I don't think either one of you really highlighted Rahm too much, and that is kind of where we were at. It's a what have you done for me in the last week, 2 weeks kind of sport, and we knew what he did in January and February, but he had a just an off week at the API, withdrew from the players. You know, had an early exit at sort of a wonky match play tournament, but I think all of us missed a little bit on Rahm's just been that guy this year. I mean, he has been that dude, and this has been coming. Now, with that said, I know you and I both benefited off of Jon Rahm winning. I took him at plus 700 without Rory and Scheffler. So if you exclude them, one of them could have won. He could have finished second. That would have won the bet, but obviously he won. And you took him after he double bogeyed the first hole, which was a great call. I think you said 12-1, and then you also had him with a couple NFL uh, playoff games from January that you parlayed him with. So um, good on us. I know we didn't have him in our best bets, but you actually had some nice calls with your top debutant
I,
Sahith at
I would say
550, and
Sahith there.
yeah, and I think all of our top win bets were all right there. Cantlay for me, Spieth for you, and we'll get to Brooks for Zach, which was an
We'll get to Brooks.
unbelievable call. It's an unbelievable call by Zach Fitzgerald. All right, so this next portion is just it's going to be somewhat of a rapid fire because we got a lot of guys we need to at least hit on. Um, T2, Phil Mickelson. Holy fucking shit! I I this performance was almost more astonishing than him winning the 2021 PGA because this was so out of nowhere. He's been terrible since he's joined Live. He's been especially terrible this season on Live. He's acting like a psychopath at the champions dinner, reportedly. Tommy Aaron, one of the past champions, reported to the Augusta Chronicle that he didn't speak to anyone at the champions dinner, that he ate his meal quietly. So yeah, he's acting like a fool. Um, he's silent during media. He's declining media. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but then he shows up, plays solidly, then he goes nuts on Sunday. I don't even know what to make of it.
Unbelievable. I mean, I've kind of grown to not like him with the whole, ever since he started with the live stuff and kind of became just a more of a weird dude that he just has become a lot less likable. And even, even during when he hasn't played well in those events and made public appearances, it just kind of sucks just to, watch him and everything like that all the way around. But unbelievable there. 65 in the last round there, to finish second place. Um, it felt good. It was just nice that it was at Augusta. I agree this might have been more impressive than the Kiwa Island PGA Championship at 51 years old. So pretty cool. Definitely, went from kind of really disliking him to thinking it's pretty fucking awesome. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I still I don't know what his legacy is going to become. There's still time for him to um, save some of that going forward, and who knows where this live thing goes, and if it explodes this year, 2 years from now, and he wants to become a commentator, he could probably regain a lot of what he's lost with fans. But um, with that said, unbelievable performance, and really, I think he had a bad stretch on the end of the third round. That without that, he's really close to Jon Rahm. Um, Brooks Koepka, T2.
Yeah, Brooks Koepka.
First of all, I, I I'm watching the podcast last week that you guys recorded. And when Fitzgerald comes out and is like, I love Brooks Koepka in every way. I love him like my son. He's gonna win. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like this is crazy. Not only not only has Brooks just been an enigma the last couple of years, he's overcome injuries. We know where he's been mentally and physically. We saw a lot of that with the Netflix Full Swing documentary. I know he won on Live recently. I know he won on Live last fall, but there's no real thought in my mind that he was going to contend for the Masters this week. And through 2 rounds, I'm like, this dude looks like this. This looks like Major Brooks. And I texted you and Zach. I said, no matter how this turns out, that is an unbelievable call. It didn't work out for him. He lost some gas there at the back nine of the round, the third round. Still had the lead, but it just seemed like um, he lost momentum as the tournament went along. And he did have the really nice side of the draw the first 2 rounds, and I think that was obviously helpful to the cause. But it was nice. I will say it was nice to have Major Brooks back, kind of swaggering around, being a dick to the media again. All the whole deal. It was kind of nice to have him back.
It was really good to have him back. Like I was, as much as I liked Mickelson shooting at 65, having Villain Brooks, strutting around the golf course, playing unbelievable golf the first couple of days there, was really, quite amazing there. And I don't want to say with the weather, it kind of, he did get the good draw. And then he, Saturday really had to deal with the bad weather and everything. And I think that really, really threw him off there. And who knows what Rahm would have done because he got the bad end of the draw. We didn't say that
Right.
earlier there.
We
He won
correct.
despite getting the shitty draw on Thursday and Friday. But Koepka really just played good. Actually, I did bet him Wednesday night. I kept thinking about it and thinking about what Zach said. Zach was just so confident in him. Like, you know what? He's got some pretty good odds. Let me go ahead and do that. But I think the big thing about Brooks is that he is actually healthy, and maybe that is the light schedule with him not playing much, where he can actually get that knee healthy and get his body healthy and whatnot. Could have been something like that. And I think the live thing actually was a bigger deal. Him winning the week before, Greg Norman has messed up countless things with this whole live tour since it started there. But this schedule though of having the Tucson event a few weeks back and then having the Florida event the week before, it gave these guys a little bit of a tune up with some competitive golf right beforehand, and that could kind of get some of them going and feeling good about their putting stroke and feeling the nerves and everything. And I think Brooks, winning that event and playing quite well in it, that really kind of carried him over there. But I hope that I don't necessarily root for him, but I root for him to contend in these events because he is one of the guys that I do miss at the major championships. Just that massive arrogance and that better than you type of attitude he has with the media. It's just a chef's kiss to the type of player that he is. And I don't know if I don't really care about him during regular events because he doesn't really care about the regular events. But it'd be neat though if come Oak Hill at the PGA Championship next month if he's in form, if he's healthy, because it's a golf course that fits him.
For sure. And I alluded to it earlier that the run he had from the 2017 U.S. Open to the 2019 PGA, And I was going back today, and I was looking at, he was obviously really close to the 2019 Masters when Tiger won. He contended at the 2021 PGA. Obviously, Mickelson beat him. Like it kind of slipped my mind. He was right there the 2021 U.S. Open when Rahm won. He was one of those guys that made the late stars in the back nine. So it's not that long ago. The injuries started after that point, and he mentioned, he how his left knee it's completely different where he can actually, push through to the others to his left side now, and it's a huge thing. Golfers know that's one of those key injuries that's really hard to overcome. So if he is indeed healthy, um, I hope he is back. I really do, and it was fun to have him in the mix. Let's talk about the rules situation from Friday. It was Friday, right? Or Thursday?
I believe it was Thursday.
Was it Thursday's round? Pair with Gary Woodland. I'm gonna let you take this one.
So on the 15th hole, par five, uh, Brooks hit his tee or hit his second shot, hit driver, and then he hit an iron as a it's a reachable par five, hit it on into, and then Brooks and Gary are pretty good buddies, and Brooks or Gary's caddy went walking because he went walking past Brooks, and as Brooks was taking off his glove, he clearly flashed this. I mean, he had his glove on, and he clearly flashed this, saying he hit a 5 iron. Um, it's in the rules. You cannot give advice. Now, is it a good rule? I don't think it's a good rule, but it is a rule. And if they're going to penalize guys for the ball oscillating or, whatever it is, or lost balls versus hazards and stuff like that, he clearly broke a rule. He was giving advice to Woodland's caddy. So Woodland would then have a little bit of information. And I think this happens a lot that we don't ever see. I think it happens in almost every single group. I mean, of guys who are buddies there. So the Masters committee looked at it, and they decided no penalty because they talked to Brooks and to Gary, and they were both like, no, man, I was just taking off my glove. And apparently that's how you do it after you hit a 5 iron. So
Really
pretty,
natural.
pretty shitty. Should have gotten a two-stroke penalty for it. I, you know, if it wasn't him, maybe they would have. If they would have caught somebody else on camera doing it, I don't know if they would have done the same thing. But really, kind of disappointing that you enforce all the rules of golf, and then this one, which again is not a good rule, I don't think. I mean, yeah, it helps people, but it is what it is, and they didn't penalize him, and that's just kind of
Yeah,
disappointing.
had a kind of shades of the 2013 Masters with Tiger. Really
Yes,
did.
that's exactly what I thought was the Tiger from 13 when he took
Yep.
a drop
Yeah.
improperly. It wasn't within a club length of where his ball laid to rest. So he went just outside of a club just to get the
Right.
correct distance. And, they didn't penalize him, I don't think.
Right. And
But
it's yeah. So you got to kind of question some of the Masters handling this. I don't know if the rules committee is what they label themselves. Um, but whatever inquisition that happened with those four guys, they played it off well enough, or the Masters didn't want to get involved with a rules investigation. I don't know, but it was pretty obvious. You're right. It is pretty obvious. It was a very unnatural way of Brooks taking off his glove, and that's how he played it off, which is hilarious. One thing I did like, did you hear Jim Nance's dig about the CW when
I almost,
Brooks?
I think I was standing up and it brought me to my knees. Yeah. When he says he's on the CW,
Yeah.
it's the crosswalk.
Oh, I
I was
loved it.
like,
So good, Jim Nance.
it was just
uh,
a not so subtle, maybe subtle dig, and just blew him up right
I
there.
loved it. Yeah, yeah. I'm wearing my Jim Nance shirt right now. So
Oh,
there you
that's a
go.
good shirt.
Thanks, Jim Nance, for being who you are. Um, Jordan Spieth, just, I mean, what a roller coaster as always. And 66, the final round. It felt a little bit like 2017 when he had a chance at 62 for a while there, and he was just. I think it was when he birdied, I believe 16. Did he birdie 16 yesterday? it just felt like, oh my gosh, like if he could get to 9 under, he's got a chance. And I just feel like this guy's got to win another Masters. It's got to be written somewhere that he's got to win another one of these. He's just too good at this tournament. It's astonishing he's only won one, and he's been playing it what since 2013. But I mean, countless top fives, countless uh, just appearances in contention on Sunday. I just love watching Jordan at the Masters.
It is fun, and it's what he was one. It was my best bet because it was just one of those things that he's going to be in contention almost every single year as long as he's kind of hitting the ball well. But with Jordan, you get the ups, you get the downs, you get everything in between. You get the Michael Greller, you know, questionable looks once he hits a golf shot. He's going to be in the azaleas sometimes. He's going to be in the pine straw, but he's going to make, 7, 8 birdies around there. And it's just one of those golf courses that he feels pretty comfortable on. And he's going to win again some other time, or win the Masters again some other time. But he's a guy who I like as consistently like a top 10. He's going to be a top 10 machine there. And I think as long as you get like him at like plus odds, that's where you like start on that. But he's fun to watch if you just understand you're gonna get the good and you're gonna get the oh my god bad.
Where it's like, oh my God, is like that's not even a tour level player type of iron shot or whatever. Um, I'm skipping over a couple of guys. Cam Young, just a machine. Another top 10 in the major. I can't emphasize enough how much I love him at the PGA.
Yeah, I think it's going to fit his game quite well. But I mean, he just bombs it. He's a good iron player, and he's got a good wedge game. So he can hit those drivers. And a lot of those guys who hit drivers really really far, tend to struggle with the wedges, but he doesn't. And just a solid all around game. I think it's just a matter of him consistently getting up there, which he's doing, and getting himself into contention. And then when he, the putts that Jon Rahm was making, the 12 footers, the 15 footers, the 18 footers for birdies, and the 6 footers for pars. That's just like kind of the final piece for Cam Young, is to have confidence in those that he's going to make them in crunch time, and then move on. But yeah, good idea on the PGA if you guys like betting futures.
Right. Hovland, where we at?
The short game. I mean, dude will make a bunch of birdies, kind of like Spieth will. But what was it? The sixth hole, he hit it over. It was
Mm, yeah.
it was either 4 or 6, and he hit it at the par three. He hit it over the pin and had to chip. It's an okay chip to get it on, and ends up three putting. Just stuff like that. A lot of little mistakes, and until he gets that short game significantly better, it's going to be hard for him to win a major championship.
Mm. I agree. I mean I wish we were wrong, but I feel like you'll see a lot of top 15s, top 20s from him in the upcoming
Mhm.
majors, but winning is it's a different level. And I maybe it's a PGA where it's like 17 under winning, but when conditions are tougher and everyone's missing greens, I just think that takes him out of the picture of winning the tournament. I really do. Um, Scotty hit it about as good as you could this week and putted as poorly as you could. And I'm disappointed he didn't have his typical, just at least plus putting week, because it could have been a Scheffler Rom showdown.
Yeah, I think he just kind of got a little. I mean, he got visually upset, and he's not. Since he's went on his run, he just got a little out of his character there. But he hits it so good, and it's just a matter of being an average or slightly above average putter, and he's going to win the event. I mean, that's just the combination right there. So he'll be back, and he'll win more major championships, I think. I'm actually pretty confident. Last year, if you would have asked me if he's going to win, I would have been like, nah. But even though this was just an atrocious putting week, I think I mean, I love his game top to bottom going forward.
Um, when he made a bomb on 11, and all of a sudden his name was he was T3. It's like holy shit! Like he hasn't even he's just putted just awful. And for him to just grind through it and be where he was, and I think he doubled the 12th, but after that, but I was sort of highly impressed by him just playing as well as he did, even though huge facet of the game was a big negative. I only got three more. I got to dig into Patrick Cantlay for a variety of reasons. He was my best bet to win. I loved his form coming in. His ball striking has been elite this year. I keep thinking, is he going to have one of those putting weeks in a major like he's had in the playoff events in the past, like the year against Bryson, even last season when he won a playoff event? It just felt like it's like when you don't have Cantlay on your card and he's in that mode, he makes every fucking putt, every 12-footer, and it's bottoms. And then when you bet on him, especially in a big event, he's missing 5-footers. He's not even touching the hole. He missed about a 5-footer on 8 that was so critical to him having any chance of winning, and he didn't even touch the hole. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's he didn't measure correctly before he started cutting, or had the wrong drill bit. I'm not sure. Um, However, frustrating guy, and it just makes me doubt. It just makes me doubt him going forward. And then add to that, his pace of play is one of the 5 worst on tour.
It's so bad, and that DeWalt reference. I mean, it's just a gift that keeps on giving because you could
It will
just
be.
keep going on and on and on, and I absolutely love it. But
It's
yeah,
the
he's
new
not been.
Kokrak.
Yes, oh, that's a
Yeah,
good one there.
yeah,
But with Cantlay though, in the major championships, yeah, he's generally been a pretty big disappointment, and he's shown flashes. Yeah, he'll scare that top 5 or top 3, at some point during the event, and then just bad shots or missed putts, and that's usually what it is. Is he gets on this run, and it feels like he's got a 5, 8 footer, 5, 6, 7, 8 footer, whatever, something like that, and just cannot get those putts when he needs them to convert. But his game is so good. Again, he's another player that's a great driver, great iron play, solid short game, and he can be an unbelievably good putter. So but it feels like though when you've got to be that sharp and the the it's a razor thin line between missing putts, making putts, and hitting good shots and everything, that an event like Augusta, even though he traditionally plays pretty okay here, may
yeah.
not ever win win a green jacket, but he could be a PGA championship, like you said, when you have to shoot 14, 15 under par, more towards a typical tour event. I could see, but you're right. It's hard to bet him, but then if you don't bet him, then you're just like, Jesus Christ, why didn't I bet him? Because he always has tasty enough odds to put a win bet on.
Right. I think I'm going to have to stay off of him for the rest of the major season. I'm adding to the list of guys I don't want to touch for the rest of the season. 2 guys left on my list. I'm going to let you pick between them here. Rory, Tiger.
Oh, why do we have to talk about Tiger? No, we have to talk about Rory though. Like we were talking about earlier. I mean, it's been a decade almost that he's won a major championship. It's always something. It just always feels like it's something. It's a 73 to start, or it's just some bad putting halfway through, or some tough breaks, or a bad tee shot here and there, and it just seems to throw him off there. And I don't want to question his mental game, but you almost feel like these younger guys than him, like a Rahm or Morikawa or whatever. I mean, they're killers, and the types of major championships that Rory's won is him just kind of getting out ahead of the field and just winning the race going forward.
Right.
If you can't do that, you can't do that with shooting 73 in the your first 18 hole round of the tournament there. So you know, I'd like to say I still think he's going to get the career grand slam, but it might still take a few years because there's just something between the ears. I think that's with him that's preventing him.
and we know he's tried a variety of things going into this tournament. We've seen him play up to, the week before. We've seen him take time off. We've seen him, all kinds of, mental, where he's more relaxed or he's out there grinding the week before. He's tried everything and nothing has worked out. And like you said, it just feels like it's always something. And this week it was strange because he was on the good side of the draw, and there was really no reason for him. It's not like he's playing poorly coming in. I mean, he last time we saw him was at the match play when he got to the semifinals. So it was pretty inexplicable. No defense for it. So yeah, I mean, we're at the point where when's this next major going to happen? You just keep building the scar tissue, and I think you and I both agree. Um, and just grinding out a major is different than, you know, like the 2011 U.S. Open when he was leading the whole tournament and got ahead by 7, 8, 9, and it's I just don't know if he has that grinder mentality. I mean, you don't see him win a lot of difficult scoring type tournaments, even regular tour events. Um, so that's definitely a knock against him. I don't know what that means. I still trust him in a lot of events. I still think Oak Hill sets up unbelievable for him. He's a member there. Maybe the PGA is just a better setup for him. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with him. Kind of talk myself in circles there. Um, Tiger Woods, that was tough.
That was really hard to watch. That last hole that he was playing before they blew the horn there when the plantar fasciitis kind of acted up again. And it's not surprising that it happened. I mean, that golf course is real tough to walk. And I mean, realistically, this is the Augusta is the only place that he's going to be able to win. I mean, he's not going to win a PGA championship. He's not going to win a U.S. Open. The guys are just too good. Maybe he
Agreed.
could, on the right situation, maybe he could win an Open championship. But I mean,
Right.
he's 47 years old and has got the body of a 65-year-old man. I mean, it's just at some point, that leg's got to heal because the rest of the body, the muscles are as he gets older, they're just aging and everything. And he was, because he can't walk golf courses, he has to limit his walking. But then he's going to get the plantar fasciitis because he's favoring the one leg, and it's just unfortunately it's ailment after ailment after ailment. And I don't know if he'll ever decide before he's 50 if he's done with the major championships. But you know it's hard to get a golf course that he can walk and play effectively. Now I say that, I mean, LA Country Club is an easier walk, and maybe it's something that he can handle when they get that LA heat where it's 90 degrees out and everything like that. So I'm hoping I'm wrong there, and I'm hoping I'm wrong about all of it, about it kind of being a he's done thing. But I mean, the body's broken. It's severely broken, and I know there's some flashes, but his flashes are T54, in at Riv or whatever the finish was. It's not necessarily a top 10. And I think we as fans just got to kind of, if we haven't already accepted it and understood, anything at all we get from him that we want to see from him that we get is good at this point.
I just wonder how much longer he is going to be willing to put his body through this and for all intents and purposes be a ceremonial golfer. I just don't. I'm actually surprised he's trotted himself out there the last couple of years with. I mean, his answer in press conferences that he's there to win. I don't really think he believes that, and maybe it shows more of a human side that he really wants to be around these guys and just the camaraderie of playing in these tournaments and being one of the guys. Maybe he misses that more than he thought, and that's why he's here. I don't know, but I made my point last year. I don't feel any differently overall. I don't know if I need to see it much more in the future. I think it would do him best if he just doesn't just doesn't play the next two majors. And as you mentioned, I think the only legit chance he has of contention is the Masters and the Open. Going forward, there's no way in this world he'll ever compete at a PGA. So
No, and that's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and just the body, it's just gonna. I think it's gonna take too long to heal, and at that point, once you're of a certain age, I mean, you just
yeah,
don't, and it's just hard. I think it's hard for like a lot of Tiger fans seeing him. I mean, that guy was limping so badly. If
hmm.
had they decided to finish 17 and 18, I mean,
I
there's
don't know
no
how
way
he
he
would have
would
made
have.
it. That
I don't think he
walk up
would have
18.
physically made it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And so it's just, it's one of those things that it sucks to have to talk about. It sucks to have to think about, but you know, it's just that's what it is what it is.
Yeah, I was reading something on Twitter from some sort of leg expert medical guy that he was claiming that Tiger's leg is probably in such bad shape that he'd be better off that if it was amputated, that he'd had less issues um, overall to his overall well being and health if he um, had it amputated compared to what it is now. I mean, that's pretty unbelievable to think
Oh my
about.
God. I
Yeah, right,
mean,
right.
Jesus.
I don't think it was a hot take either. I don't. I can't quote who it was, but I was pretty busy on Twitter yesterday. Um, Anybody else you wanted to touch on for this week?
Oh,
Jason Day with the 80 yesterday.
yeah, live bet him a top 10, and that didn't quite work out there, but
Yeah,
that's fine. Again, I think Jason Day is going to end up winning an event, but you know,
sure.
I think yeah, he just he got up there. He was a
What's
couple
there?
back on that
Yeah.
second round, and there's then just kind of end up losing it there. Um,
Overall, the live guys that played well. I guess the three we didn't mention P Reed, but
mhm.
he was obviously great on Sunday. Finished T4. Um, do you feel any differently about these guys today as you did before the Masters?
Yeah, I was actually I wouldn't have really bet any of these guys, and I know at the end of last year didn't feel comfortable in the U.S. Open and then the Open Championship about betting them just because of the schedule and getting the reps in and everything. And the fact that, like I said, they did the schedule, they did. I think they did it real good for these guys. Now, saying that, if you're taking notes and you're like, okay, well, PGA Championship, I mean, they go to Singapore, China, and then back to the United States. I think to Tulsa or something like that. So it's going to be kind of a jet setter schedule that may be difficult for those guys to deal with all the travel and everything like that. But their reps were there and they're still playing pretty good golf. And some of it though is it's just Augusta National and it's just how these guys play. Like Patrick Reed, impeccable short game, terrible driver of the golf ball. That fits in with how you could play Augusta well and that worked there. Brooks is just the major championship guy, and he's had some great success there too. So, the some of it I think was a little bit of that getting comfortable with it, and then the crowds were kind of with him and everything, and played well. But long term wise, I don't think it changes a ton of it, and we're going to see less and less of these guys going forward because they're going to drop out of the rankings there, and they're not going to qualify for these majors. So it may not really end up
Right.
mattering after that. Like they joked about Mito Pereira in the last round was playing with Fred Couples. He holds it for eagle on 13, and
So
somebody tweeted, "Oh, that's pretty nice. You get your goal crystal goblet for the eagle in your last Masters round ever because he's going to drop out of the top 50, and that's going to be it for him."
I saw it. It was Jamie Weir that tweeted that. He's a Euro Tour guy. He's a writer on the Euro Tour, and he's not wrong. And was it kind of a nice dig? Yes. Even he's probably right because what path does he have into this? Obviously, as past champions, Mickelson, Reed, and DJ, they're there. Kepka will Well, he's obviously in next year, but he can. I don't know, the U.S. Open win from, I don't know, the PGA win from 19. I don't know how long that gives him.
It's 4 or 5.
Okay, yeah. So
Can't remember
he,
if it's four
yeah,
or five.
but it's a great thought. I will say I want to walk back maybe a little bit of what I thought that the lack of competition on the live and the live events might hurt these guys at major championships. I was wildly interested to see how that was going to go. I was at least wrong about a couple of these guys. I will say that. Kind of interesting. Cam Smith and DJ were objectively terrible this week. I mean, they made the cut, but they weren't around at all. I never thought Mickelson would be the guy that would be your highest finisher, and or at least tied for your highest finisher. So maybe I was wrong about that. I really thought the lack of competition would affect them in majors. Maybe it won't. Doesn't change how I feel about the product. Uh, the live events are just garbage. They are garbage events, and I won't feel differently about that. Even if Cam Smith comes out and wins a PGA, I won't feel different about the product they're putting out. I absolutely will not. So, any other final takes from the Masters, Augusta, the golf course coverage, anything?
So sad to have to close out the best phone app that's ever been created, the Masters app.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff there. It was kind of weird though when they had the AI voice that was doing the commentating on the shots.
Yes.
That was kind of creepy, and
Yes.
it's just one of those things that I'm long gone before the robots take over, because that's going to be one of them. But great app. Even though it was actually trying to predict golf scores for everybody and was insanely wrong. But
Right.
that's the one thing. Sad the Masters is over, but
Yeah.
excited for this next week and can't wait for the Masters next year.
Yeah. The app is great. The AI dude was kind of dystopian. It was like Johnny Strouser, age 41, hitting his second from the fairway. I was like, what the hell is this? Um,
Yes.
the huge, and I don't want to get too far into this because we're trying to wrap this up and move at least to Harper Town, but huge ball drop though with the feature groups on Saturday, not having Brooks, Rahm, and Sam Bennett on that channel. I don't really get it. I don't know if there was some contractual thing with CBS and the whole tape delay thing later on after the rain came. That wasn't great. That was not great. However, the app as a whole is amazing. Being able to see every player shot is incredible, and it's really, there's a lot there that the PGA Tour could learn from for sure. Um, all right, so are we moving on to Harbour Town
Let's move on to Harbour Town.
for time's sake? Uh, Real quick, Will Zalatoris, uh,
Mm.
WD before the Masters, one of our favorites, out for the season, back surgery. This isn't great. This isn't great for a lot of reasons. I'm really worried about his career going forward.
You never know with the back. I mean, as a lot of us suffer from, a lot of people suffer from just, back soreness and whatnot. This was actually one that had to be operated on, and at such a young age, with the torque he puts on his golf swing, and you just never know how you're going to come back from a back surgery. I mean, you could come, I've never had it, and I've had some minimal back issues, so I can't speak much of it, but that's very, very important part of the body there, that him being out for basically a full year with just a couple events in between, and then having a surgically repaired back is not good, because you're right. We're talking one of the premier ball strikers before his injury, and major championship contender for every single major that he played in, just about, and seeing that he's going to be out for the year. Obviously no Ryder Cup, not going to see him in the majors, and who knows how he's going to come back from it. If he's going to be back, is it going to take him 6 months? Is it going to take him 2 years? Is he going to come back from it at all? So hopefully the procedure went okay, and he can recover from it and get back his golf game, because he's one of the guys that is out there that makes it better. And also, I don't, you probably heard it too. I heard he turned down a boatload of money from Live. So,
Yeah.
hopefully that good karma for not joining that, he'll recover and still have a very successful PGA Tour career.
Yeah. One of the guys I just really enjoy watching hit a golf ball is just an incredible ball striker. We know how our friend Zach Fitzgerald feels about him, but we both thought he's just a major big event type of guy. I love those kind of guys. Sort of a Brooks Koepka 2.0 in a way. Um, I'm really worried about his. I mean, with him missing this entire season, eligibility for elevated events next year. I don't know how far his world ranking is going to drop. Um, Obviously, there's spots for top 30 in the OWGR, but I don't know if he'll be there if he misses this whole season. I know there's events or there's spots for guys that perform well early in the season next year. He'll have to be one of those guys potentially. I don't know how that's going to shake out, but something to monitor. RBC Heritage this week, really unprecedented situation, I guess, for the PGA Tour to have this type of field after a major championship. Only they've had travelers right after the U.S. Open in the past, but it wasn't what the travelers is now. It was travelers of 5, 6, 7 years ago, where there's a few top guys. To have an elevated event after biggest event of the year is it's kind of questionable.
I, it's terrible. It's a terrible decision. It just is. This is not a good week to have an elevated event and force these guys to come out there. Now, it'll probably be a fantastic event, but it's just like you're right with the Travelers. That's a huge event now, after the U.S. Open, but the schedule thins out at that point. I mean, you're talking these guys played a heavy West Coast schedule with a bunch of elevated events. Then they moved on to this amazing Florida schedule, tons of elevated events. And then you got the match play, which could potentially be a whole bunch of rounds. And then you're
Mhm.
leading into the Masters, and that's what these guys are playing this Florida schedule for, is to get ready for the Masters, and for them to have to come out and be forced to play in the Heritage, which I absolutely love the Heritage. For people who've listened before, it's in Hilton Head. That's my jam. I mean, I'm I love the golf course. I love the island. I've gone to the event before and everything like that. But to have these guys have to play there, it doesn't feel quite right. And you get a good enough field, and the island is very, very relaxed, and it's got kind of a postmasters relaxed type of atmosphere. But I just don't think it needs to have that elevated event status to validate it or anything like that. They've definitely compressed the schedule way too much because of all the good events early in the season, and they got to make those adjustments next year.
Right. I mentioned to you earlier. It's hard from if you're betting this event to try to understand and figure out who is going to have the motivation and the energy to go 4 rounds and go through a weekend of a grind in contention to win. Who's even going to get there? Is it going to be a guy like Justin Thomas that missed the cut, who's got motivation? He wants to win again. He's been playing pretty poorly. Guys like maybe Xander or Finau who weren't really quite there over the weekend that didn't expend a lot of energy, or is it possible it's just Rahm or Scheffler? It's hard to figure out because you just don't know how guys are going to react with playing such a big event right after the biggest event. But that's why we're here. We're going to break it down. Um, Rory McIlroy, he withdrew today. So the Rory
All the
haters,
live guys are going nuts
oh, they're,
right now.
they're loving it. They're loving it.
They're pausing this podcast and just celebrating the shit out of it.
Yeah, Mr. fucking PGA Tour. See, he withdrew too. Rory did. I mean, he didn't play in the Century, so because he already skipped one, missing this event, he's gonna get some sort of allegedly he's going to get some sort of penalty, maybe with his PIP. I don't know how that's going to work out, but interesting to follow. Next year, this won't be a thing, but it is a thing this year. Um, let's get into the odds. Rahm and Rahm and Scotty, those are the top two. Scotty's actually the favorite at 8-1 on DraftKings. Rahm's 8.5-1. Uh, Mr. Toolman himself, as we just talked about, Patrick Cantlay is 11-1. Colin Morikawa is at plus 1,800. Jordan Spieth is at 20-1. He is the defending champion. Victor Hovland, Cam Young at 22. Xander at 25. Tony Finau at 25. Sanjay, Matt Fitzpatrick, Justin Thomas at 28. Shane Lowry and Max Homa at 30. A lot of names there to unpack. I guess first of all, at the top two guys, I assume you're staying away.
I'm going to stay away, and I'm especially going to stay away from Jon Rahm. I mean, for obvious reasons. Just one the thing he's got media things that he's going to do. He may not even get to Hilton Head until you know Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, something like that. If he because a lot of times they do the tours with the Tonight Show and all those other shows in New York and whatnot. So it just might be a write off week, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does withdraw before the tournament starts. I just don't feel like it. Like he's going to end up doing it. So I won't touch him for anything at all. No top 10, no top 20, not even a top 40. I thought about before the show. I was like, well, would I bet him to miss the cut? It's still Jon Rahm, and he could wake up after not playing golf for 3 days, and he could absolutely make the cut. So I don't think he is a good bet in any form. Don't fade him, don't bet him, just stay away. With Scotty Scheffler, kind of the same, although Scotty with the putting there, and I don't think he's even played in this event before, so it may not be a good event. And at 8-1 with this monster field is probably just a bad bet there.
Mm-hmm. I I mostly agree about Rom. However, if he does end up playing it, I could see him maybe getting off to a sluggish start in round one. Then I think you have an opportunity to maybe live bet him for a top 10. Right now, he's at plus 110. Maybe that if he shoots, say one or two over in round one, he's kind of off to a slow start. I think you might have an opportunity. I don't think he's going to win, but to maybe he gets some of his energy back Friday and he makes a run forward at that point. You get him plus 200 for a top.
Yeah.
Something to look at. I remember Spieth in 2015 when he won the Masters. He got to a poor start. He ended up top 10 in this event the week after he won. Um, the guys between 10-1 and 30-1 there. Some of those guys contended last weekend. Some of those guys did not. Do you have a preference there, or are you just looking at more course fit, course history kind of situation, like a Spieth who's won here, or like a Morikawa who feels like on paper just an ideal fit for this course?
Yeah, I want to look at form, how they played it in the Masters there. But these guys, I mean, with this purse, I mean, is gigantic. So a lot of them are gonna come to play because it's a lot of FedEx Cup points, and I think it's probably the $3.6 million to win. So I'm gonna be looking at that. I don't love the number on Pat Cantlay. You may have to shop around, but I love him on this golf course, though. I liked how he played for the most part last week. Obviously we talked about how he made some critically terrible decisions and bad, mostly bad putts down the stretch. But he fits the golf course well. He's played solidly before at this place, so he's a good ball striker. He's a name that I like there. The other one, and I think you were gonna probably mention him as well, is Cam Young. I don't see him as a guy who spent a lot of energy and everything. So, and he played a lot of good golf for some good stretches. Hit some off the map and took a couple penalty shots here and there, but this could be the week that he does break out and get that first win.
Played well here last year. I think top five last year, and I think that sort of dispelled any notion that he was a one trick pony on he can only play a bombers type of course, which as you've played this course, it's clearly not.
Did not.
Um, what do you make of JT? at 28 to 1.
What do I make of
Wow.
JT at
Wow.
28 to 1?
Wow.
Well, you know, oh God. I mean, Thomas was just he started out the Masters okay,
He really did.
and he just kind of was leaking oil and leaking oil. And then the weather came and just he couldn't handle it. Not that he can't handle it, but he just
Right.
it was just not to be, and ended up missing the cut, which it actually in fact got Tiger into
It did.
who
It
ended up
did.
making the cut there.
It
But
did.
28 to 1 is not a bad number. This is a golf course I think would fit him really, really well, where he can shape the ball. You got to hit iron shots, and you got to hit tee shots and drivers and fairway woods in the right position, because I think like I said before when I covered last year, or we did this last year, you could be in the fairway and you could be blocked out by the overhanging trees and not have a clear shot at the green. Like I remember the first hole I hit on the left side of the fairway and I had to hit a hook around a tree to get to the pin. So this fits so
Right.
well to him, but is the putting, man. I mean, is he gonna make the putts that are crucial? But at almost 30 to 1, that that's a great number to get him at. So
Yeah. It's
I like the
tough.
number. I
That's
really
tough.
do. It's just, whew.
Yeah. That's tough. Um, yeah, I'm kind of in the same space. That's one I'm going to have to think about. Um, I do like Sunjay for this golf course
Mhm.
as well.
Yep.
Um, I'm tempted by Sunjay. I have to say I'm also I mentioned Morikawa. Um, I don't want to keep doing it, but I'll probably just silently bet him not making one of my best bets because I just feel like that dude is so due, and this golf course is tailor made for him.
Yep.
But I don't need to go into him any further. Xander at 25 feels like something as well. I mean, a lot of these guys in the 20s you could make an argument for. I really think. Um, Even Fitzpatrick,
I was
he
gonna say I
shows
even like him.
he
He played well at the Masters.
finally
So
showed some life this season, and it's well documented. This he's mentioned this is his favorite course, favorite tournament. Uh, so 28 on Fitzpatrick as well. Anyone else to touch on there before we move on?
no, I wanted to echo Sanjay and Fitzpatrick. You're kind of trying to talk me into Morikawa, and you're right. That putting is just not good. But we've talked about Morikawa. As long as the ball striking's there, the putting, he's going to figure out how to be average one week. And,
Right.
the golf course fits him. But I really like that most everybody in that entire group. I mean, there's a lot of guys that can, I think that's going to come out of in that group is going to be somebody who's going to win it.
The Morikawa was right there for a lot of Friday, Saturday. He kind of
Mm-hmm.
backtracked on Sunday, but it never felt like he was in contention to win.
Yeah.
He's right there. He's been hanging around a lot this season. 30 to 50. Um, not a big group, actually, a small group. Lowry at 30, Max at 30, Sam Burns at 35, Hatton at 40, Tom Kim at 45, Russell Henley, who we did not speak of earlier, but had a great Masters, 45, and Cooch at 50. Um, I made one bet in this group today. That was at Shane. It was Shane Lowry. I got him at 35, and I parlayed him with the 76ers winning their series against the Brooklyn Nets. So it pushed him closer to 40 to 1. Shane Lowry, who should have won this tournament last year and is played reasonably well last week. So I do like Shane Lowry this week.
Shane's a guy who I would really love to bet, and I'm still not sure on that, but it's one of those things that every time it feels like he's on my card, that it's always a disappointing, top 20 or top 25 finish, something like that. But he's I think this
Yeah.
golf course fits him very, very well. And it's just a matter of putting everything together one week, and where he's not. Lately, it's been where the driver isn't working, and then it's the putter is just ice cold one week, and then it's changed. But he's talented enough to win this event and beat this field, and that's a pretty solid number on him. And adding the 76ers, who are going to just absolutely roll the Nets, which I didn't even know the Nets made the playoffs. That shows you how
Uh,
bad the bottom of the East is.
I
But
I think Embiid's going to average 40 and 15 in that series.
I,
Like, who's going to
yeah,
guard him? Yeah,
yeah, it's going to be good there. But this group's okay. It's just guys that I'm just going to be scared to pull the trigger on. You always look at Homa, but I think he another bad play at the Masters. He made the cut, but didn't finish in the top 40. Tyrrell Hatton's had some good success here. Should have won a couple, or could have won a couple years ago.
right.
I'm gonna pass. The only guy I kind of don't hate is Matt Kuchar here for like a top 20
Jesus
or top
Christ.
30. I don't think I'll.
No,
I don't think he wouldn't be a best bet, but he's just one. He's he's playing some okay golf, and
he
he
is.
just,
He
I
is.
can't say can't I can't ignore that, and this is a good golf course for him. So and I'm
Yep.
sure he's had some success here. Haven't really looked at it, but I'm sure he's a good name for this place.
No, I think so. I one name I keep coming back to in this group. I can't get away from it is Tom Kim. This is one of those courses early in the season. I think I mentioned Tom Kim for the players, and I kept thinking of the Heritage, and he did enough last week at the Masters. I think he finished T16, and I'm like, that's perfect. He didn't move his odds. Um, this guy is an elite wedge player, elite putter. We know he's not long off the tee. You don't have to be here. I think this fits him really nicely. If you're not comfortable with him winning again, then plus 900 on a top five, I kind of like as well. So I'll probably end up on Tom Kim in some fashion. I think it's too good of a fit to pass on him in my in my opinion.
I like it. I like
Yeah.
that.
50 and above. Um, Connors, winner a couple weeks ago. He's there. Ricky, Fleetwood, Sahith, Rose. Some good names in here. Clark, Wyndham Clark's been playing well. Keegan almost up to 100 there. Hoagie, I could argue he's a decent fit. Those are kind of some of the guys up to 100s. And then anybody you like over 100. What do you think about some of these guys?
The win bets are going to scare me here. On a normal Heritage week, I think there's a lot of good names there, but with it being that strong of a field and that top heavy, I think you got to be really careful. I mean, one of those things where I might do like a top 20 bet, but throw a small little portion on a win bet just in case. Um, I don't like Connors to win, but I mean, he just won 2 weeks ago. I think he made the cut. No, he didn't make the cut because I had a made the cut bet on Corey Connors and lost it at the Masters. But anyways,
Uh,
I mean, one of the best ball strikers out there. So, that's something I like there. Ricky Fowler, though, um, I
yep,
think this is the Ricky Fowler Redemption Tour is back on after Valero, and it's
yep.
I expect a good finish there, and plus 550 on a top 10 is real solid. Like I said, I might be looking in the top 20, but I like that name. JT Poston made the cut at the Masters. Um, he's a native of Bermuda grass, so good putter guy like there. Gonna go back to Taylor Montgomery, who I was kind of off on for several weeks, and he's really played some good golf. So I think we're going to see some good play from him. Again, I don't know how to win, but you can. I mean, at 100 to 1 though, you just throw a couple bucks on there, and you've got a pretty good payoff there. So those are the ones that really kind of jumped out there that I like. One that was kind of shocking to me with how well he played in the Masters was Gary Woodland. At
Yeah,
I mean, that's 110 to 1 to win.
yep.
Uh, I think you got to find him somewhere on your betting card. The golf course doesn't really make sense for him with kind of how he plays, but I mean, good golfers can play, any golf course, and the guys who are playing well, that is something that does intrigue me.
That's a good point. And he has won Valspar in the past, not a Bomber's Paradise either. I don't mind Woodland. He just kind of shows up sometimes out of nowhere. And you're like, huh, Gary Woodland. Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
forgot about him.
So you want to put if you want to put $5 on him,
Nice. Nice. I like it. Um, I have thought for a long time that Tommy Fleetwood in this golf course make a lot of sense. I bet on him and to win this event 3 times in the past. I want to say something like that. Obviously, hasn't worked out. I most recently lived and died with Tommy Fleetwood at Valspar when I proclaimed that he was going to win that tournament, and he was very close, but did not because he's Tommy Fleetwood. So I don't know where I'm going to end up with Fleetwood, but I've just always thought it made sense here. I really did, and it kind of makes it kind of goes back to like the Lowry point on this golf course too. It feels more like a course that would be on the DP World Tour than a lot of courses on the PGA Tour. You know, tight position. There's going to be some winds at some point they're going to have to deal with. It just makes sense that Euro guys have had some success here, and that's why I keep coming back to them. Sahith, I did bet earlier today as well. I got him at 70. I also parlayed him with the Sixers as well.
you got some
It's
pressure on the Sixers there.
gonna suck when Sahith wins and the Sixers
Doc
lose.
can't get out of the first round.
Holy shit, can you imagine that? But it took him to about 75-1. I don't necessarily think it's a great golf course for him, but I'm just trying to ride some of the momentum from last week when that was awesome. I that was so much fun when he chipped in on 16 and made the Tiger chip.
So good.
That was awesome. Um, Pete Dye Killer, Siwoo is someone to consider at
Yes.
65. Just default to the history on Pete Dye courses, had most of his success in his career on that type of track. Um, Here's a name down the board that you're going to be surprised at 130-1. I'm a little surprised he's down here because he's like, what is he? He is the 20th ranked player in the world, Kurt Kitayama, and he's 130-1. Um, that feels low. Um, do I think he's going to win his second elevated event of the season? No, I don't. But he did miss the cut at the Masters. But um, God, top 10's a plus 1,000. Top 20 is probably around plus 500. So I like Kitayama. This to me makes a lot of sense for him as well. Um, he's not short, but he is his ball striking's elite at times in the past year. So that's the guy down the board that I like for some version of a bet. Other than that, I think that's kind of about it for me. Uh, Davis Thompson, mildly like him at down there 180. But again, I just don't see anybody over 75-1 winning this tournament and this against this field.
I don't think so either. And like I said, with as strong as that top part of it is, I mean, there's some really good names down here that if you think they're going to play well, like you said, I mean, you can get a guy for top 20 at plus 500 most likely. That's pretty unbelievable for someone that good of a player there. So the only other names, and I mentioned him the last couple of weeks, but he played good at the Masters. Ryan Fox, DP World Tour player.
Mm-hmm.
So he, I don't think he's got any course history here, but a guy who's used to that type of style of golf course there. Um, Other than that, I'm gonna have to dig a little bit deeper and see if there's anybody that I like for a best bet. But I think you're just kind of you've got some interesting names like Adam Scott or Billy Horschel that are this crazy down the list, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure with if the form or anything like that or the type of golf course that this is really fits it. So maybe they are appropriately priced, but got some interesting names that have this high of odds, and maybe we can you know find something here for our best bets coming up.
I see your guy Akshay at 250. I mean, I assume you're doing something.
I am gonna watch him and hope that he plays well, but in an elevated event, I mean, I'll take him in a secondary event or a Corn Ferry, but he's running with the big boys now, and I you know
That's fair. Someone to monitor though. See if he can make the cut. Top 40 would be a nice performance for him
Yeah,
this week. Um, all right. We unpacked it all. Masters review, RBC Heritage preview. Um, Probably no show next week. So got through a lot. Appreciate your thoughts and really grinding it out through this almost hour and a half pod.
good to be on again. Like,
Check out our best bets on Wednesday for the RBC Heritage and see if we can pick a winner this time for this event. And we'll also have some other good bets hopefully as well. YouTube channel for the video pod and Apple and Spotify. So thanks for listening and catch you next time. Hello, friends. Goodbye, friends.